Imagine having your child taken away by Child Protective Services and not knowing what you did wrong. It happened to one Lansing family last week, and today they fought back. News 10's Anthony Sabella tells us why two medical marijuana-using parents say the court's decision is against the law.
Immediately return this infant to her parents and adhere to the Medical Marijuana Act.
A strong message to the Department of Human Services just 4 days after Steve and Maria Green of Lansing helplessly watched as their infant daughter Bree was taken from their care. The reason given, the state-sanctioned medical marijuana user's home was too dangerous for their 6-month-old because of the plants inside.
It would place our residents at a higher rate of armed robbery and therefore was an imminent danger for my child to be removed.
That reason was not good enough for the Greens, and on Tuesday they took the fight for Bree to the doorstep of Child Protective Services, along with a crowd of supporters. Their attorney says the decision to take Bree violates the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act.
A parent can only be deprived of custody if there's an unreasonable danger that's articulated and substantiated. This was not an unreasonable danger.
The DHS, which includes Child Protective Services, couldn't comment specifically on the Greens case, but did say any court decision for removal is made in the child's best interest.
We would look at parenting as being really the key factor in that investigation from our standpoint. What kind of choices are the parents making when it comes to the children?
According to the court order, it was the Greens' decision to continue to use marijuana after they were told not to, all while facing felony charges in Oakland County that made it dangerous for Bree to remain in their care. Her father disagrees.
A lot of people have visited Bree. You know, everybody knows how well cared for Bree is.
Maria Green told me the initial claim that the Greens were unfit to take care of Bree came from her ex-husband. Bree is currently living with Maria's mother.
Now, will that felony charge they're facing make it tough legally to get Bree back, Anthony?
Well, it shouldn't. I asked that question to Lansing medical marijuana attorney Mary Chartier, and according to her, Oakland County, where the Greens face charges, is notorious for placing outrageous charges on medical marijuana patients. She says any charge from there shouldn't be given any stock. And they'll have to prove that on October 7th when they face Ingham County Judge Richard Garcia to try and get their daughter back.
All right, we'll be there. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah.
Here's the headline. Medical marijuana users fight to keep infant daughter. A strong message was sent to the Department of Human Services just 4 days after Steve and Maria Green of Lansing helplessly watched as their infant daughter Bree was taken from their care. The reason given, state-sanctioned medical marijuana users' home was too dangerous for a 6-month-old because of plants inside. Because they were allowed to legally grow it for medicinal usage, they thought someone might rob them. Ladies and gentlemen, are you going to get robbed for jewelry? Going to get robbed for having a watch? How about a Lexus? Again, this is how they just make up. Oh, you had plates in the dishes. Oh, you have dogs. Those are there. Oh, you don't have enough money. Oh, we want your kid. Again, most Americans have smoked marijuana. Half the population of the country is estimated to smoke marijuana on a routine basis. Now, are you too stoned out there to care, or are you going to get organized? Because this is going on all over the country. And again, if you got glaucoma or stomach aches or all other problems, it is a great medicine if used moderately. I don't use it. But I know medically it is very useful. So I'm not judging moderate users of pot. I'm also not endorsing the culture of the people that use it too much. But this, when you go in to have a baby, we have a lot of false positives for THC. They're going to take your kid. Nobody's telling mothers this. They're preying on you. There's not any public service announcements. Hey, don't smoke pot, or we'll take your kid when you come in to have it. They want to snatch your baby. They're going to sell it for adoption for $500,000. Now let's go now to our guest to go through the saga of what's happened. Steve and Maria Green, whose child was kidnapped by, quote, armed gunmen. The armed gunmen in the case were the police, along with their government officials, not servants, from the state of Michigan. Maria and Steve are medical marijuana because of multiple sclerosis and epilepsy, which it's on record helping both, but are registered with the state of Michigan, which they use to grab the kid, and submit to random drug tests. See, they tell you now you can have your marijuana, but you waive your rights. It's even worse. All this decriminalization is a total fraud. They'll just go back to being illegal. I'm telling you, folks, nothing that comes out of George Soros is going to turn out to be good. Guys, thank you for coming on. FreeBabyBree.com. Thank you so much. Now you've been hearing me rant about all the things that are going on. You got the floor. Tell us what happened, what you've gone through, and where this is going, because there is a war against legal marijuana users in this country?
Yeah, thank you for having us on. My husband has been a medical marijuana patient since 2010 for his seizures. That he had seizures since 2006, and you know, this was one of the only things left for him to try to control his seizures, and it turns out it worked really amazing. He ended up being seizure free for quite some time, and last summer, towards the end of the summer, I had a bitter ex who called CPS against us just to try and gain leverage in a custody case, and it spiraled out of control from there. They came to investigate. They wanted to count the plants, and you know, they needed to see the plants and see all the medical records from all of the patients that I grow for, and on and on. We even brought them, our baby at the time was 6 months old, and we brought the investigator to our baby. We showed her out on the porch, and she wasn't really even interested in seeing the baby. She just really just wanted to see the plants. And through the course of her investigation, we invited her and her supervisor and the agency to get a court order to come into the home, because our laws here in Michigan would not allow for me to give access to those plants to anybody else. And they left saying, okay, yes, that's what they would do. They would petition the court to enter our home. And the morning that was supposed to happen, they called me and said, you know, I just want to go over one last time whether or not you're going to let us in your house before we petition to remove your kids. And so they pulled this fast one on us, and we went into court that afternoon with them bringing a petition not to enter the house, but to remove our children. And the judge at the time, the referee, he heard a little bit of testimony, and in the end, he said that he was really just concerned that there was plants growing in the house, and even though I was legal to do so, he thought that would increase our chances of having armed robbery, and that the baby could get hurt.
That's an incredible precedent. That if you have a nice car or a nice watch or computers or anything they want, now you've got to have your children taken for safety, of course, and be given to government custody where they're 7 times in more danger of everything you can imagine.
Yep, absolutely. And it ended up taking us 6 weeks of fighting her being out of the home. We were able to visit her for a couple hours every week. And it took us 6 weeks to be able to get her back.
Wow, just incredible. And again, how old was your daughter?
She was 6 months at the time she was taken.
How was her? How was she when you got her back? Most of the time, the children are just lost weight or in critical condition in many cases.
Thankfully, she was so young. We did notice that she was quite gun-shy, didn't like strangers anymore, was a little bit more antsy and anxious and that kind of thing. She thankfully snapped out of it relatively quickly.
She bounced back against the enemy?
Yep.
I mean, that's what these people are. They're the enemy. We have to recognize that. So expanding on this, where did it all go from there?
From there, they gave her back to us with the condition that we had to do this parenting counseling type thing, and as long as we were successful with that, then they would just drop the case altogether.
Yeah, but that's usually going to be their people who can then do whatever. So they act like they're the good guys when they've kidnapped your child, but you guys went public. I think you only got her back. Most parents don't, because you went public.
Absolutely. Towards the end, when they decided that they were going to give her back as long as we did these conditions, and they at first gave us a pretty lengthy list of conditions, and we went back to them and said, no, there's some of these you need to change, and they did very quickly. So we got the impression that they just kind of wanted to wash their hands of the whole case.
Yeah, they got other kids to grab, they need to move on to. And again, not all family courts are like this. Not all systems are like this. It tends to be certain states or counties. But we need to really go after the people that act like this so that judicially it's known as unacceptable in the community. That, you know, either a country supports death penalty, it doesn't support it. It's about a moral decision of the people of the nation. We obviously don't want people taken because they have legal medical marijuana being grown in the home. Big deal. Did George Washington, you know, have his family taken away because he grew it? You know George Washington grew medical marijuana, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, I'm just sick of it. I mean, it's known for toothaches. It's known for people that are nauseous, glaucoma. It's known to change the brain waves in a lot of people that have epilepsy, as you guys were just talking about. You know, let's talk to your husband, Steve Green. Steve, talk about what it was like when they came, what they did. What was it like to see your daughter taken? I mean, describe that process, and then tell us what it did for both of your medical conditions.
Yeah, as a father and a husband, you know, you can't imagine the amount of reserve it takes to not, for lack of a better word, clobber them. But when someone's trying to take your children, you know, there's nothing but rage that goes through you. But we were, you know, just able to keep collected and stay calm, and knowing that, you know, if one of us were arrested for acting irrational or something like that.
Hey, I bet the marijuana after they left helped settle you down. Medical use there is to sedate you.
And so it was just a nightmare for that to happen, but we knew we had to stay that way. And shortly after, we went to the doorsteps of DHS with about 200 people. And
let's say that again. How many people? DHS?
Yeah, we went to the main office of the DHS with about 200 protesters.
But the DHS was involved in this?
Yeah, that's the Department of Human Services runs CPS in our state.
Unbelievable. Please continue with it.
And so we, like you said, we hit the press and we made it public because we were outraged, and we knew that, you know, most Americans would be.
And by the way, anytime somebody takes somebody's child because they smoke marijuana or whatever, we should have people rallying like we're going to Frankenstein's castle to tell them we're not putting up with this scum. I mean, this is what it's about. We hang together or hang separate. You get aggressive, you get a free country back. On guns, on marijuana, on parental rights, on father's rights, on everything. People better learn to stand up. I'm sorry I'm ranting, sir.
No, you're good. You a lot of things, even in the intro, you hit the nail on the head with prescription drugs. And here in Michigan, if you decide to be a medical marijuana patient, or in my case, have to be because nothing else worked, then you pretty much give up your right to own a gun. And in CPS's eyes here in Michigan, if you're a medical marijuana patient, you give up your Fourth Amendment. They're allowed to just come on in and search whatever they want.
Yeah, see, if I was having epilepsy, we're going to break. I want to come back and give you the floor. But if I was having epilepsy, I'm not waiving my Fourth Amendment. I'll go buy pot on the street. I mean, I cannot believe that they do this to people, making you waive your rights. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's kind of amazing that they put all these restrictions in place. But yeah, we pushed forward and had a great rally. A bunch of women got held hands and sang songs.
Yeah, I notice it's women standing up in this country most of the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was, from what I understand, the movement in prohibition of alcohol, and it looks like that's the movement here in medical marijuana and marijuana. So it's great to see so many women and moms came out from everywhere. We were, you know, getting calls from CPS agents that work for the same agency that were saying they were appalled, and, you know, it was...
and see, it's that moral saying no. The moral calling it out is what will dispel these vipers. Stay there. The Green family, child kidnapped for 6 hellish weeks because they needed medical marijuana and legally did it. The war on drugs is a giant fraud. Most of the narcotics are shipped in by the big banks. On record, they don't get in trouble when they get caught laundering hundreds of billions of dollars, like Wells Fargo, Wachovia, Bank of America. You pull up hundreds of mainstream news articles breaking that down. Wachovia, Wells Fargo laundered in a 3-year period, what was it, between 2007 and 2010, $380+ billion. $387 billion, and got a $111 million fine. We did the math. It'd be like if you robbed millions of dollars and paid a couple $1,000 fine. I mean, you start robbing banks immediately if you were an immoral person, right? So it's just a total fraud. I mean, we know that birds eat fermented berries and get drunk and seek the berries out. We know bats do it. Are we going to arrest them? I'm drinking coffee right now. Wake Up America Blend America coffee. Wake Up America coffee from InfoWars. I mean, that's a stimulant. Am I evil? Am I bad? Obviously, this stuff's all abused. But the reason it's dirty is because you've made it illegal, then it's underground, and then the criminal elements involved. And they're the ones that are nasty. You want to dispel narcotics? Decriminalize them. Control them like prescription drugs. Stuff like marijuana, decriminalize it. My problem is all over the country. They've got these state laws and federal edicts where you basically waive your rights to go into this. And marijuana is a miracle plant. The cannabinoids, all the stuff involved in it. I've been involved in documentaries. I've seen the studies. I mean, it's mainline stuff. Big Pharma knows this. They're making hundreds of drugs out of it right now and patenting it. This is CNN right here, and we're going back to our guest. Marijuana stops child's severe seizures. She was having 300 a week and was going to be completely brain damaged and basically die. I mean, I've watched my uncle have seizures over the last 30-something years, and, you know, they mess him up. But he's reduced them with drugs and a fatty diet, you know, coconut oil, things like that. And they've even, again, but the mainline doctors won't tell you, go get a medical marijuana thing. It's been found in double-blind studies across the board with many different types of epileptic disorders that are on the rise, by the way, with our toxic environment. It's been found to massively reduce them. She was having 300 grand mal seizures a week. Her heart had stopped a number of times, and it reduced it down. Where is that in the article? How many a week? Didn't it say 5 a week? Yeah. Mike's not clear, guys. Like I told you, 3 to 4. Thanks. Yeah, there it is in the article, 3 to 4. And that's the issue that the system is trying to block here. That for all the ways they're poisoning us, God has given us all these great plants that can do these amazing things. And Big Pharma, under Codex Alimentarius, wants to shut this down. But not just marijuana. They've had raids on different herbal growing facilities with things like aloe vera. I saw that a few years ago, claiming someone could use it as a drug. I mean, they just want to control the resources. Now, going back to Steve and Marie Green, they started freebabybree.com, a foundation to help fight the CPS when they kidnap children for medical marijuana and other issues. And this is great. There's lots of other organizations out there as well. And this is where the data and the case histories and the game plans can be distributed to others and up their learning curve to where people know how to fight and know their rights. So it's wonderful. So Steve and Marie Green, break down the rest of the story. What else happened? And what happened when you went and marched against the DHS?
Yeah, so that's exactly what we did. We had a bunch of people show up. We did the songs, the protests, the signs. The news came out in droves. And we got looks out of pretty much every window in the high-rise building. We had people for blocks around that would come and ask what was going on. And then from there on, it was just an outpour of court support, both from a group called the Human Solution and just the community members in our area. We had 30, 40 people at each court date. And when you're talking about, a CPS type of thing, they normally try to restrict that and not allow very many people and make it as secretive as possible. So we avoided that. And I think that was a key element in getting Bree back. And so we wrote out that process and went back in front of the judge, and he made some statements. like when you're convicted, and just some very biased seeming statements. And then after we proved ourselves, and the media was in the courtroom filming and everything, he never came back out of the courtroom or out of his chambers again. But they did in chambers come to a decision that they would give Bree back. Since then, we've had an independent report done by the state ombudsman report, and they had some findings that CPS made some errors and things like that. So it looks like we're going to be, keep screaming from the top of our lungs, and we've been able to help several other families in Michigan that were caught up in this type of situation. And I think that's important for the real Americans and communities to stick together when things are happening, and it would outrage you if it happened to you. Remember, we're all together in this, and stick up for each other.
Well, again, it just shows how predatory this system is, and they're persecuting people across this country. We have the largest prison population in the country, in the world, and it's only growing, and they're just finding new ways to throw nonviolent people in jail while all these huge crimes are being committed across the board. We had a case up in Round Rock last year where a toddler died in CPS captivity after being taken from marijuana-smoking parents because the neighbors smelled it. And I want to point, it's these rat neighbors. It's like this case CBS News is reporting on in Maryland, where the tree trimming company was looking through the guy's window at his house and saw he had a tattoo of a gun on him, so the SWAT team came for the tattoo. And it just shows that it's just a culture of weird snitches everywhere that literally, like, their dream is to call the knight in shining armor of the SWAT team on anybody and everybody, or everybody gets back at each other with the system, and it's wrecking our culture. It's and hurting children. So, I wonder what the people that, called the CPS on you feel about the little baby being drug off and all this. I wonder how that feels. I wonder if that feels good.
Well, it was actually her ex-husband. They were in a custody battle over her shared son. When she went to court the day before, the judge ruled in my wife's favor. The following day, the ex-husband called CPS and filed the complaint with his false accusations, and so
exactly. But I'm saying, look at the collateral damage, though, to a child that's not even related. It's just, I wouldn't call the system in, folks, unless it's an emergency.
Oh, but he was eating it up. He's smug about it. This is a very sinister person.
Well, I don't want to get off into the whole family stuff, but I know that gets nasty. But all I'm saying is that this snitch culture is out of control. What was it like when baby Bree was returned to you guys?
It was a big party, pretty much. We got her back. There was a return policy, and we completed that. We got her back. We weren't allowed to have any media when we got her. Because they're God? Right. So right after that, we went to our lawyer's office, and we had a conference and celebration. And, like you said, it happens all over the country. CNN did a follow-up piece in Napa, California, where they have removed an 11-month-old, and they're still fighting for jurisdiction there. And this just happens everywhere, and you don't hear much about it because they scare people so badly that most people won't speak out. So I think it's imperative that, like you said, groups that are helping out stand up and help the little people out. In my case, I was on 30 pharmaceutical drugs and still having grand mal seizures a couple times a week. And when I got on the medical marijuana and took it in a capsule, like a pill, like a herbal pill, when I would do that, I went 18 months without a seizure at all. And that's longer than I ever did on any of the 30 different pharmaceutical drugs that just made it worse.
You're absolutely right. It just really has miracle effects, and this is why they're trying to block herbs, minerals, vitamins, natural plants, because this is from the earth. These are God's gifts. These hundreds of millions of different types of plants and animals and things that are on this earth for us to be able to take care of ourselves. But instead, they want to play God. They want to come in with their big pharma and rule over everyone. Steve and Maria Green, freebabybree.com for folks that want to get involved and help you guys defend other families that are going through this nightmare. God bless you, and I appreciate your courage, because I've battled CPS as a media person myself, and it's so painful to see the crimes they commit and the things they do that it's duty that I just cannot physically get involved in, because it tears me up too bad. To see the enjoyment of taking the kids, the system preying on people, it's dealing with child kidnappers who are in power and who are on a power trip and who just are having their way with people. And it makes me physically sick. So you're doing God's work. Make no mistake about that.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking about it, Alex.
No, thank you. You guys are simply amazing. God bless you. Well, there you go, folks. There goes the Green family.